Hello art journalists, this is Natalie from NK Design. I've set myself a challenge today. I will be only using muted colors. I will also be using a variety of ephemera, which I will explain later, and my hand-carved stamps. Now, if you have seen my previous videos and my previous art journal pages, you know I don't do muted colors. Not that I don't like them, don't get me wrong, I love them, but I tend to grab the brighter colors. Here you see me distributing Ceramcoat acrylic paints in oyster white, old parchment, straw, mellow yellow and latte with a catalyst wedge randomly across the page. To build up layers, I grab my black archival ink and my hand-carved stamps and start stamping. You might think I go a little bit overboard with the stamping, but bear in mind I want these layers to peek through the paint layers that are coming, so I can go completely bonkers and cover up what I don't like and keep what I do like. With the paints I used before and the same wedge, I thinly spread some paint layers on top of the stamps. I'm very careful to only use very thin layers because I want the stamps to peek through. With a Daler Rowney acrylic ink in sepia and a small mini mister, I create drips. I'm a bit heavy-handed, so it turned out to be a little bit too much, so I'm using a paper towel to mop off the excess. I'm taking out my balsa bits to add another layer, and I'm using the same acrylic ink and a makeup sponge. You might think it's getting a little bit too dark, but don't worry. I want to put more layers of paint on top of it. And again, very thinly, so I'm using now the wedge and oyster white as well as a baby wipe to distribute the paint. As you can see, the layers are still visible. I'm adding back a little bit of color on the edges. I'm not being too precise and I'm trying to keep the layers thinly so that still the previous layers shine through. It might be hard to see in the video, but I promise you, you can still see all the layers underneath. And while I usually collage under the paint, this time I just switch it around. I'm using some dictionary pages and some collage material that I received from a swap, as well as ephemera from Tim Holtz. And when you think you have the right piece, you decide to take another. But who cares? So after I glue this bit down, I decide, hang on, I want this other bit underneath, so I carefully remove the first bit, place the second bit first, and then glue the other one on top of it. Lucky me, the glue doesn't dry that fast. And to balance the page out, I create another little collage on the bottom left corner of the spread. I won't show you how I glue everything down, so I come back when I'm finished. Once everything is dry, I use a pair of scissors to cut the overhang of the page. To tie in the collage with the background, I use again a little bit of paint just on the edges of the collage to blend it in with the background a little bit. Then I realized I forgot a bit that I really wanted to include, so that goes on top. I'm adding a little bit of shadow to the collage pieces, and I use my black Faber Castell water pencil to do that. I only use it on the left and bottom side of the collage pieces, and then use a water brush to activate the color. I've grabbed another Crafters Workshop stencil. This one is called Arrows and Hearts, I think, and it's TCW396, and I use again the brown acrylic ink. And as you can see, I was a little bit heavy-handed with the ink. There was just too much on the sponge, so it bled underneath the stencil. But you know what? Mistakes happen and I'm fine with it. It's just my art journal. I grabbed my two alphabet stamp sets. One is by Kikki K and the other one is by Typo, and I use black archival ink to stamp out my quote. I wish I had placed the words in the last bit a little bit differently, but oh well, it will do. As you can maybe see, I haven't glued down the tag completely, so I'm using a little bit of black embroidery floss to needle through. And I am in a splatter phase again, so I'm using brown acrylic ink to splatter as well as white acrylic ink once the brown ink has dried. And then, because the stamping didn't work as good as I hoped it would, I'm using a Faber Castell Pitt artist pen in black to trace the letters. To fake some sewing, I simply use a finer Faber Castell artist pen in black and doodle the lines around the edge. Adding my date stamp, and I call this one done. Please give this video a thumbs up if you have enjoyed watching this video. And maybe challenge yourself to use colors in your art journal that you usually don't use. Maybe it turns out great, because I love how this page turned out. I'll see you next time. Until then, happy arting!